States are required and counties are required to take reasonable steps to clean up the rolls. And they went and they cleaned off 440,000 names. So we had a big victory in New York, or a big settlement in New York City. We sued New York earlier I guess it was last year, because they didn't clean up the rolls for at least 6 years, especially in New York. I think over 6 years, they removed 22 people from the rolls. And we settled the case after New York confirmed to us they removed 440,000 ineligible names from the rolls. Isn't that great news? You know, it's not like obviously, it's a very different state ideologically than Judicial Watch. At least the government is run by people with a very different outlook than we do. But I got to hand it to the New York City officials who settled the case with us. Because what had happened was we warned them in, I think, the end of 2000, what's this year? This year is 2023. At the end of 2021, we sent them warning letters in other places that your rolls are out of whack. And what they tried to do was at the last minute, they removed all of these names. And of course, they didn't tell us that, but so we sued. And so after back and forth over this federal litigation, because the federal law requires states to take reasonable steps to clean up the rolls. And if you're not removing anyone who really hasn't shown up to vote in years and years and years, or has ignored, requests, hey, are you still there? You're supposed to remove them after a certain amount of time. And as I said, that wasn't being done. So they settled the case with us. It's under the National Voter Registration Act. States are required and counties are required to take reasonable steps to clean up the rolls. And they went and they cleaned off 440,000 names. And so that's a major victory for New Yorkers and frankly all Americans, because when you have dirty voting rolls, you can have dirty elections. Because that's a group of names potentially that someone can use to vote in someone else's name. Someone dies, they're still on the list, or someone's moved away, they're still on the list, and they're inactive. There's ways of figuring out, well, this person isn't around and I'll vote in their name. That's why the government wants the names to be clean, the lists to be clean. So New York elections were a lot cleaner in November, thanks to Judicial Watch. And this is on top of victories in Kentucky, where we cleaned, I think ultimately it's going to be probably 500,000 names. Initially, it was 250,000 names. A consent decree under a similar lawsuit. California, they settled. LA counties removing up to 1.2 or 6 million names from the rolls. And we're going to get, I think, a final report later this year as to how well they did there. In North Carolina, it was the same thing like in New York. We sued. Actually, we didn't have to settle. I mean, they just removed so many names. We said, well, we don't even have there's really no good faith basis to be in court anymore. They did what we asked them to do. I think it was a similar number of names, 360 or around 400,000 names. So millions of names collectively have been removed from the nation's rolls thanks to Judicial Watch's legal efforts. Legal efforts, by the way, that the Justice Department could also undertake, but has largely refused to undertake because the Justice Department is run by leftists and they don't like the idea of cleaning up voting rolls. And you can draw your own conclusions why that's the case. We have ongoing lawsuits against Pennsylvania. I think that's going to result in something good in the end. And Colorado, we're still in litigation to clean up their rolls out there. And so it's going to be another cycle of getting more information from the government about who has and who hasn't really cleaned up the rolls. And so we're prepared to go to court again. But it's good that when we're going to court, they're settling with us because, otherwise it's years of litigation potentially, and you don't get the result you get in the end. So this is just great news. I just love it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.